Now, our third presentation today is from Jan. Jan, I'm proudly calling you friend, because although I am an academic, those people who don't know me, I work at the Royal College of Art, I teach performance sportswear design. I know so much, but I have to turn to people who have the evidence, who have the tests. I don't know your level of knowledge about Hohenstein. They're the people with OEKO-TEX, and a lot more besides. They have also just won a Performance Days Footwear Award. But we're going to find out about things like that. Jan's going to come on board. Jan does not sound like a scientist. He speaks in a very relaxed way. If you don't pick up everything he says, all the talks are recorded. They'll be online by the end of the month. But I always enjoy, I always learn. So Jan, it's all yours.
Yeah, thank you, Charles, as always, for the kind introduction and, of course, for the opportunity for giving a presentation to you today. As Charles said, usually my presentations are a little bit more technical, but disappointing you today. So the content is not that technical today. It's basically about our project together with LOWA. Basically the first hiking shoe out there that is OEKO-TEX Standard 100 and Leather Standard certified. It was a bit of yeah, a challenge, let's say it that way. But we finally made it, and therefore also actually the Performance Days Award was awarded to LOWA and not to Hohenstein, because Hohenstein is just only the test house and certifier for the shoe, so the award is goes to LOWA. And well, Hohenstein is of course a little bit a part of that. Yeah, so let's talk about shoes today. Usually I talk about fabrics and textiles and performance claims and whatever, sweating guarded hot plates, thermal mannequins and so on. But today is going to be a little bit different. Yeah, this is what I just mentioned. It's basically a screenshot from the LOWA website, our partner that we partnered together to bring the first OEKO-TEX certified shoe onto the market. And we basically succeeded beginning of the year. The shoe is out there, and a great feedback from LOWA's customers. So, as said, the first shoe, LADY LIGHT GTX, you can see it, I think in the front there is a little shoe area where the shoe is displayed. OEKO-TEX Leather Standard certified, the first shoe basically out there. And as Charles mentioned, it also was awarded the ECO Award for footwear from the Performance Days. So pretty much a success story for LOWA and Hohenstein. Yeah, so talking about OEKO-TEX today. So usually when Hohenstein is talking about OEKO-TEX, it's about fabrics, textiles, garments. Today it's about shoes. And what is it different compared to textile and fabric certification? Shoe is a little bit different, but I will walk you through the whole process that we basically went together with LOWA in our first pilot project. So for those of you who don't know, OEKO-TEX Association, we are out there since the 1990s. In the meanwhile, we are 17 independent test and certification bodies. We have 100 offices worldwide, and more than 20,000 companies are actually working with the OEKO-TEX system. Most of them are working with the Standard 100, but recently STEP certification went pretty well, and all the certifications related to getting, let's say, greener, to make the industry a little bit more greener. A quick overview about the OEKO-TEX system. So we basically offer a certification all along the textile supply chain, starting with the input control, organic cotton, and eco-passport. Organic cotton, as the name says, it's for organic cotton. There's a certification available, and the eco-passport down there is for the chemistry that goes into the textile industry. So without chemistry, no textiles. This is what we need to face. I'm a chemist. I'm a textile chemist by heart and by training. So I pretty much know what is basically out there and what is required. Second part is the process control, so the making of textiles with the STEP certification. STEP stands for Sustainable Textile Production, and this includes wet processing as well as cut and sew. Then we have the output control. It's basically the ready-made product, and today it will be about shoes, but you can basically replace that textile shoe by a textile. We have the standard 100, organic cotton and made in green, and basically the same for the leather standard and for leather made in green. The supporting tools to help you with all these certifications. We do have the responsible business tool. The buying guide is a very useful resource that we offer for free on the OEKO-TEX website. You can basically go into the buying guide and look for pre-certified materials. So as you know, making your product with a pre-certified material actually is cheaper for you to have the final OEKO-TEX certification on your product. And last but not least, my OEKO-TEX. This is a dashboard online to manage all your certifications and your supplier relations, basically. Yeah, let's look a little bit about on the output control. Standard 100, the traditional one, certification for raw materials, accessoires, and finished textile products, so all around the textile product. The leather standard, basically the same. It's leather raw materials, accessoires, finished leather products. So it's basically a copy of a textile garment in a shoe. Yeah, what is Standard 100 and Leather Standard all about? Well, it's covering the European Chemical Safety Association, the substances of very high concern list, legal requirements, and qualitative or quality requirements. So basically, what we say when you have Standard 100, this also implies for the Leather Standard, you're basically covered mostly for most regions all over the world. It's an annual testing and certification process. As you know, the supply chain is currently in motion, so the same product that you get the year after might not be consisting of the same components, and this is why this is an annual certification. For the leather standard, its focus is very strongly on responsible leather sourcing. Therefore, leathers that are purchased from deforestation areas, I don't want to name some countries here, are not allowed. So this is very strictly controlled and also enforced because we give a name on OEKO-TEX certification, and therefore it should also be a sustainable sourced raw material. So how does the certification for footwear works? It's basically the same as for textiles. You get in contact with us, you apply for it, the documents are checked, then a product-based testing protocol is created. So there's a lot of rumors out there that OEKO-TEX certification for shoes or for textiles is about 50,000 euros. That is not true. That's not true. So basically the maximum amount of testing, if you have no pre-certification, basically if every component needs to be tested, it's maximum 5,000 euros. But usually you don't have that. You usually have at least one or several components in your supply chain that are pre-certified. And therefore, a customized testing protocol is created. So there are experts in our team that exactly know, okay, I have a certain product out of a certain material. So for example, it's not necessary to look for cancerogenic dispersed dye stuff in a cotton fabric. So this is why a customized testing protocol is created. Material is shipped, tested, fail, you can improve, pass, you get the certificate. So that's pretty much it and pretty much simple. If you work with pre-certified materials, basically also the application, you sign a declaration of conformity, you hand in your supplier certificates. So for example, you're using a fabric, a sewing thread, a membrane, a seam sealing tape that is already pre-certified. This is basically accounted here for, and then send the product, and only then the components are tested which are not pre-certified. If you want to have a deeper look into it, we have QR codes on the bottom right to scan and then see it all on our website. So Standard 100 and Leather Standard, what are we looking for? Well, basically more than 1,000 chemicals that are currently in focus in the textile and footwear industry. We have substances that may be of harmful to health, so it's not clearly proven yet, but there are strong hints that these substances definitely do something with the human body or the environment. It's UV stabilizers, chlorinated solvents, of course, pesticides, volatile organic compounds, and preservatives. We have the legally banned and controlled substances, which you are actually not allowed to use anymore, and this is usually worldwide, but we still find those substances in there. Certain azocolorants, carcinogenic dyes, PCBs, formaldehyde, phthalates, PFAS, a big topic. We recently had a webinar about the topic. So this is basically the next big topic in the industry, heavy metals, and within heavy metals, chromium-6, and of course, banned flame retardants. There's a separate category in Standard 100 and Leather Standard, which is called ACP, Active Chemical Products. So we know there are products out there and performance requirements to products that include antimicrobial effectiveness or flame retardant. So this is a chemistry which is usually a little bit more powerful than the traditional chemistry. But OEKO-TEX also allows these chemicals, basically the chemical supplier has to certify those active chemical products in advance so that we can be sure that only the necessary, the absolutely necessary amount of, let's say, active or a little bit more stronger chemicals are on the textile. The exact substance list you can always find in the annexes 4, 5, respectively 6 and 7. So you just go to the website or you click or you scan this QR code in Annex 5 and 4 and 5. Basically all substances are listed that we are looking for with CAS number, with the chemical name and the limit parameters that are allowed or the, let's say, stringent exclusion of these kind of chemicals. The limit values are always adapted to the latest research for human toxicology and for environmental toxicology. So this is why the association basically announces a new revision of Annexes 4 and 5 and 6 and 7 every year, because the whole system is moving, the whole system is active. Annexes 6 and 7, they are a little bit stricter than Annexes 4 and 5, and Annexes 6 and 7 were basically created to comply with the Greenpeace detox campaign. So the standard level is Annex 4 and 5, and the advanced level is Annexes 6 and 7. There are no legal requirements to choose either of these. It's basically up to the philosophy of your brand, of your company, which annexes you want to comply with. For the leather standard, there's only Annex 4 currently with the test parameters and limit values, and also here these test parameter and limit values are related to human toxicology and environmental toxicology. So there is no Annex 6 basically because by that time Greenpeace did not include leather excuse me, in their detox campaign. Therefore only we have Annex 4. With OEKO-TEX, there are product classes, and we have 4 classes, basically going from the skin to the outside. So class 1 is actually material in contact with the skin, but especially for children and babies. So these are the strictest values because we all want to protect our children the best, and therefore OEKO-TEX class 1 is usually the highest category. Then we have product class number 2, anything that has direct contact with the skin, so in fabrics or in garments, base layers, underwear, and so on. Product class 3, any type of textiles without close contact to the skin, mid layer, outer layer, shell, so everything which is not in contact with your skin. And last but not least, product class number 4, these are home textiles, furnishing material, decorative purposes, so not really in contact with the skin by intended use, let's say it that way. For footwear, we only currently have class 1 and 2, class 1 for baby and children products, and class 2 for grown-ups and adults. That is the only distinct or the differentiation that we currently do for footwear certification. Yeah, what can be certified? Well, this is basically every component of the shoe. And if you are a shoe manufacturer, you exactly know how many single components are within a shoe. A shoe can be compared in terms of a textile product with a bra, for example. Also, a bra has has a lot of components in there, very complicated, and shoes are basically alike. So you see a listing of all those materials. Basically, any component, including the chemical finish of the product, can be certified. And of course, all leather components must be certified to the leather standard, and all textile components must be certified according to the traditional standard 100 for textile. So it's pretty much straightforward. You have annexes 4 and 5 for standard 100. You have annex 4 for the leather standard. To make a shortcut, if you are a shoe brand and you have all pre-certified materials from your suppliers. So basically every single component of your shoe has an OEKO-TEX leather standard or standard 100 certification. You're basically done. You just hand in the certificates. Certificates, of course, are checked for validity and that the scope is correct, so that the correct insole, for example, is used for this special product, and then no lab testing is required. So you're through, you're done. It's pretty cheap and pretty fast. Of course, there's always a variety that one single component or several components don't have any pre-certifications. Then, of course, only this single component is tested according to the requirements. Again, what I mentioned in the beginning, it's a customized testing protocol. It's not just stupid, brainless testing of every component in all kind of shades. It is an intelligent, smart approach to keep the effort on both sides as low as possible. The system, textiles and shoes, it's basically 100% the same. It's a modular system, so you can use pre-certified fabric, pre-certified sewing thread, pre-certified leather. You can use the labels that your supplier chain already has. You can use the step certification from your factories to come to a made in green shoe. The brand can use the standard 100 or made in green, and the retailer basically the same. So it's pretty flexible. You're not obliged to do anything. You can take what you want. You can take only the components that you think are beneficial in marketing your products, and then just start from there. This is how a certificate looks like. There's a lot of information in there, and we know there's also some fraud with our certificates, and this is why we have built in some security measures in there. And for example, if you see such a certificate, always look at the scope, because the scope describes very precisely for which kind of product this certificate is. If the scope, according to your interpretation, does not really match with the product, ask your supplier what exactly the product is. So therefore, always look at the scope, and the scope is usually very long and wide if there are very distinct materials in there. And if you think with the scope the material is not covered, might be a good reason just to ask your supplier again. Also, the product class is listed here. Here it's product class 1 for baby articles and Annex 6. So this is basically the highest or the strictest certification that you can get, baby products, and Annex 6 for the detox campaign. Certificate and expiry date, there's a number in it and an expiry date. This is valid 1 year, but usually most of our clients are already in the recertification process. So ask your client if the certificate, if it has expired, is already in the recertification process. QR code is on there, and there's basically always the institute listed that is responsible for this certificate. Pricing structure. So I just highlighted on a few basic prices, and of course I will not fully talk about all the prices in there, but it's combined an annual license fee for the certificate and the testing fees. So this is a constant or a fixed amount, and the testing fees, of course, they vary according to the product and according to your pre-certified supplier material. So this can be everything from 0 to, let's say, about 5,000. One time every 3 years, you will receive an audit because we want to know you. Are you really there, and are you really existing? Not only a kind of mailbox company. And of course, we also want to see your products that are certified with Standard 100 or Leather Standard. So this is every 3 years, just to check for that everything is in order. Yeah, closing the presentation. Standard 100, we think it's currently, or we know that it's currently the most important certification for textiles on the market. High content of harmful substances. Basically, our competitors, they always look at the OEKO-TEX RSL list and do some modification on that. So OEKO-TEX is the standard in the textile industry. It's the most familiar symbol for safer textiles and facilitates B2B and B2C communication. A very good example is United States. So the certification has really skyrocketed there, so a lot of consumers are in the meanwhile asking for OEKO-TEX certification, especially when it comes to kids products. Yeah, thanks for your attention, and looking forward to hear your question. It was a little bit more educational presentation today than technical, and yeah, thank you.
Can we show our appreciation for Jan? Now, Jan's done a brilliant thing in that he's gone through the presentation and he's totally ignored the biggest thing that his company has done. No one has OEKO-TEX footwear before. They've OEKO-TEX components, and your average shoe has something like 50 different ingredients. So it is a nightmare. And they were foolish enough to do it. So they have shown that it can be done. There are always people first in the field, and I know it's taken a lot of aggravation, it's taken a lot of blood, and it's taken a lot of difficulty. I don't think I'm predicting the future with any danger at the moment, but we know how certification has come into all areas of the provenance of materials within this industry. I do not think certification for footwear is that much further behind. You have an option now. You can go with a company that has tried, failed again, and then got it right, or you can go with a company that hasn't tried. The option is yours. But if anyone here wants to ask Jan a question, we'll either take public questions or I'll put Jan next to the stage afterwards if you want a one-to-one basis. But the OEKO-TEX standard has been overshadowed by others with more publicity and more money, but you are the original GOTS, Global Organic Textile Standard, which was the first regarded decent cotton and other natural materials. They have been there at the start. We always invite Jan back because they go back to the roots of testing, not for the sake of testing, but for the sake of making good provenance. And with the incoming EU Green Deal, which I hope you're all up to date on, the EU Green Deal will affect textiles in 3 main ways: eco-design, greenwashing, and the middle one is provenance. That's your answer to provenance, I think, or it's meant to be. But look, I'm looking around. Are there any questions that we want to pick on Jan? Or we'll let Jan go to the side of the stage. Can I ask you to show your appreciation once again for my colleague?